Recording. So I just want to thank you all for joining us today. I know several people are still struggling with internet outages and everything as well. So it means a lot that y'all made the time for this. We're really excited to offer this session with the founder of Culturalyst, Samuel Bowler, who's with us today. Sam is an artist just like all of you, who saw that there is a need for an online platform that is a roster for artists, not just artists, but also organizations and opportunities. Although we're focusing on our specific region, Baton Rouge, this is available throughout the state of Louisiana, and I believe he's branching out into other regions as well. The Arts Council has actually integrated Culturalyst into our own website. So if you go to artsbr.org and you click on About, which is one of our headers, there's a button that says Directory, and that leads you straight to the Baton Rouge Culturalyst site. So if you choose to join Culturalyst, which I hope you all do, you'll automatically be listed through our website. So now I'm going to let Sam take over.
Okay, thank you, Misty. All right, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon. I hope you're all well. I want to, so we have an hour together. So I'm gonna kick things off, but I want this to be a conversation because a big part of this project is learning from y'all what's needed, you know, and there's no better way to do that than sort of talking with you and having discussions. So I'm going to share my screen, and then let's get started. Okay, can y'all see that? Is it big? Okay, great. All right, let me get the chat going. Okay, here we go. All right, so if anyone has any questions or like wants me to stop, either unmute at any time. I also teach an online class to high schoolers, so I'm very used to like being interrupted by students unmuting or forgetting to mute themselves and talking to their mom about, you know, how the class is boring. So feel free to unmute or drop in the chat any thoughts that come up, or if you want me to slow down or go faster, any feedback is welcome. Okay, so Culturalyst. I'm going to talk through the agenda real quick for today's call. I want to do some quick introductions. So I would love if everyone could quickly unmute and say sort of your name, where you're based in the state, whether that's Baton Rouge or elsewhere, and then what your discipline is. So whether you're in sculpture, or you are a fiber artist or a dancer. I'd love if we could do that first to start out. And then I'm going to share a bit about the story of Culturalyst, talk through what it is. Then we're going to move on to talking about the challenges that we face as artists, and then what Culturalyst is doing to solve those problems. And then I'm going to demo the platform and show you what it looks like and what it does, and take any questions throughout the process. So I'm wondering if the best way to do this is if folks just dropped in the chat. Let's do that instead of unmuting. If everyone can just drop in the chat sort of your name. Actually, your name will come with your chat. So just put your creative discipline and where you're located. That'd be great. Okay, we got a musician in Baton Rouge. Great. Hi, Sanella. Okay, great. More music. I'm very keen to talk to musicians about how this can serve them, because I myself come from a sculpture background. Photographer. Okay, thanks, David. Okay, thanks, Jonathan. Music. Hi, Elise. Fiber art and collage. Okay, thanks, Mary. Carissa, I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you for all the shout outs on Instagram. It's amazing. Vic, hi. Okay, Leah Russell. Donna, hi Donna. You get a few more moments here. Hi, Carrie. You're an artist of sorts. You are a social emotional artist of gathering community. Hi, Catherine. Okay. Hi, Love Day. Okay, thanks, Dion. All right, y'all. So thank you so much for sharing. And if you didn't get a chance to do so yet, just drop it in the chat. I love seeing folks from different disciplines across the state. And thank you again for making this. I know this has been a crazy few weeks for our region. I just got back from evacuating late last week. So thanks for being here. Okay, so I'm Sam, and I grew up with a sculpture background, and that's a good way to segue into the story of Culturalyst. So I moved to New Orleans, and this is NOMA, the New Orleans Museum of Art, a picture of that museum. But I moved into New Orleans having just come from college and having an amazing studio and access to tools and other artists to collaborate with. And I moved here really knowing no one and tried to find other sculptors to collaborate with and share equipment with and share resources with. And that was really hard. So I did some Googling. The searches weren't very fruitful. I found a couple names of artists in galleries. They turned out to not live in the state anymore, and they were well above my pay grade at that time as an artist. So I just found it really difficult to find that community. So I did some searching over the course of several months and finally found some people, and from there was able to sort of break in. And it occurred to me that that was really, really hard, and it shouldn't be hard in a city full of artists. So that was the first light bulb of Culturalyst, was this shouldn't be so hard. The second light bulb was learning that the average artist in New Orleans was bringing in just about $19,000 per year. And this is 2016 or so, when the tourism spending at that time was over 8 billion a year. And the rent had gone up in the city about 60%. So we had these numbers that weren't making sense. Artists were the lifeblood of this cultural economy that pulls in all these tourists. They weren't making enough money to survive, and rent was going up. So that was the second light bulb that really kicked this thing off. And then the third and final, which sort of kicked me over the edge of like, let's dive in and do this, was I used to teach 7th grade, and I had several students that had been failed by the education system for years and couldn't read or write at 13 years old. And the only thing that opened them up in any kind of way was art. So I can even get emotional talking about that. It's wild. But those 3 light bulbs were like, okay, we need to have more infrastructure for artists. There needs to be more tools and more infrastructure to support artists. Full stop. So that sort of began what has been a multi-year journey to get this project going. And I'm now going to talk through sort of what Culturalyst is, what do we believe, and what are we trying to do. So first, what do we believe? We believe that people create culture. And I think that is simple but sweet. That this incredibly powerful economic and social thing that we always talk about in terms of culture and local culture, that's just people making things in the places that they live. And so if we want a strong local culture, we want to support those people, right? It's not that complicated. So what is Culturalyst? We are a hyper-local network that elevates those people. So on Culturalyst, you can find artists, you can find events, you can find collaborators, opportunities, resources, and orgs across Louisiana. And we're also expanding into Connecticut. We're in Tennessee. I'll talk to that in a little bit, but this is basically what we believe and what we are, is a resource to find these things. Why? So artists are remarkably valuable to their communities. You guys are valuable to your communities, socially, economically, and emotionally. And yet it's too hard to find you. There aren't a ton of tools designed to really support you. And the tools that do exist are massive oceans of content that aren't designed specifically with local culture in mind. And often these tools are a bit nefarious, sort of trying to mine our attention for advertising. So this is why we exist, because artists are valuable, and more artists in the world would be a good thing. How do we accomplish that? So we're building a shared digital infrastructure that facilitates connection, discovery, support in and between cultural communities. We want to centralize information so that your lives are a bit easier, so you can keep creating in the places you live. And therefore, the culture gets stronger. The cultural economy gets more powerful, and everyone benefits. So now I'm going to talk through the challenges that exist right now. And this is where I'd love you all to hop in the chat and drop some things if I'm missing any challenges that you're feeling individually as an artist. Okay, so the first, as I've mentioned, is cultural discovery is a difficult experience. Whether you're a tourist or a local or you're an organization, it's just hard to know who is who in a city. That's the first thing. Second, there's an outdated process for artists to find out about opportunities. So organizations have different ways they send opportunities out. And often for an artist, that looks like going to 15 different websites, scrolling through a big list, trying to see if you qualify. That is outdated and hard and time consuming, both for the artist and for the arts organization. Third, when an emergency happens, whether it's COVID-19 or a hurricane, there isn't a lot of central infrastructure to support getting information to artists and organizations. So we have patched together newsletter lists, but in terms of getting information in one central place with here's what you should do, here's the resources or grants available, here's a location you can go to, that's a patchwork effort that is remarkably done by organizations right now who are persistent, but there's no shared infrastructure where that information can just be put in one place. Okay, fine. The next one is the last one for artists, really, but their existing tools aren't designed for local cultural discovery and support. We know that artists use Instagram, as I do myself, Facebook, Etsy, these different tools, Spotify, etc. But in terms of discovering who all the poets are in New Orleans, who all the sculptors are in Baton Rouge, the tools aren't designed for that. And there's definitely not designed for getting you access to resources or support. So that's another challenge. These last two are really focused on arts organizations. So we're incredibly grateful for the partnership with the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge because they are funding Culturalyst being in Baton Rouge. And the challenges we see in terms of an arts council is that it's really expensive to build and maintain websites. So rather than an arts council having to do that, there should just be a way for that website or that platform to be built and managed. And then the arts council has access to it and the data that it provides and the resources it provides without having to have a tech person on staff designing and building software. Just doesn't make sense given how little funding in general, given our national priorities in budgets, arts councils get. That's another conversation we can have a different time. But finally, there's a lack of data that really allows us to see where the gaps are in a cultural ecosystem. So is there a need for more resources around mental health? Is there a need for more physical space? Is there a need for certain support because we've got a burgeoning community of knitters who need resources, right? We don't know because we don't have any data. So these are the challenges that right now as we see it. And please feel free to drop in challenges that you're feeling as an artist. I'll pause here for a second to let anyone do that. And no worries if no challenges are coming to mind.
Venues.
Okay, Eileen, tell me more. What do you mean by venues?
I mean, I have a women's theater company and I have to rent venues to put on my performances. I'm lucky that I can use the Unitarian Church to rehearse, but we're very small. And finding venues, the cost of them, and there's not enough of them.
Okay, thanks, Eileen. That is exactly, something that we hope this can grow into, right? There are a bunch of people that have the access to spaces that they would like to give and offer to arts organizations or artists individually for a one-time show or a recurring show, but there's not a lot of mechanisms to allow that exchange to happen. So we're hoping that Culturalyst can also help bridge the gap there. But thank you for sharing that. Anyone else want to jump in? Okay. So now I'm going to talk through what Culturalyst, our approach to a solution. And I'm going to do this by user type. I don't like saying user, but it's something that is a tech term that I need to grow out of. But for artists, let's talk about artists first. So what artists get from Culturalyst is a free SEO optimized profile with a unique shareable URL in the city directory. So you can create a profile, a portfolio. You can include photo, video, audio, PDF in your portfolio. It lives at a URL that makes it indexable by Google so that all the words in your bio become search terms for you when people are searching for your work or searching in general. So if you have the word mixed media sculpture in your bio, you will show up in results if somebody types in to Google mixed media sculpture. So that's what SEO optimized means. You can also link your direct payment applications. So PayPal, Venmo, Patreon, Zelle, all of those can be linked to your profile or your portfolio. You can search for and find custom opportunities based on your medium, your genre, your discipline, your gender, all those different things you can filter down so you can quickly see what are all the opportunities that I'm eligible for. Rather than having to scroll through a bunch of different sites, you can quickly and easily find those things. We're in the process of building an automated email system where you'll just automatically get an email at a regularity of your choosing of all the opportunities that are geared towards you. And then finally, we haven't rolled this out yet, and I need to talk with all the arts councils about this, but we built an events mechanism so that artists can start to share information about their events, artist-led events, because we heard on a series of calls we did in August that it's hard for your events to compete on Facebook or Eventbrite or those kind of places. There's just so many events. And so Culturalyst all we care about is local artists and local culture. So this is what an artist gets to begin with. We want to keep building stuff, but this is where it's at right now. Next, arts organizations get the same thing. We want to make them discoverable because they're incredibly valuable to their communities, and they're providing resources and support and insight. So they're also searchable on the directory. They get a profile. They can put their description. And then they can publish any grant opportunities across the network. So they can say, we've got a grant that is available to visual artists across the state. And then that grant will show up in every single directory across the state. So it saves time for the organization having to push out opportunities. Again, more coming, but this is where we're at. The cultural consumer. So what we've built is a way that for every person that visits a directory on Culturalyst, they're only one click away from a different city, and they're only really one click away from your profile. So by building a network of these artist directories, if you hear about Culturalyst in Shreveport, you will end up on Culturalyst and be really one click away from the Baton Rouge directory, or from the Louisville, Kentucky directory, or from the directory in Albania. So we built this network for the purpose of amplifying discovery, where if you hear about Culturalyst in any way, you're already back into the network. So it's kind of like Craigslist that way, where when you go to a city, you can find the couches and cars for sale on Craigslist. We want to build the same experience for someone looking for culture with Culturalyst. So you can find artists, events, and then we're going to make this ability soon where a cultural consumer can be saving their favorite artists as they travel around the state or as they go to different cities. They can add an artist to their list, and they can share that list out with friends looking for recommendations for who to see and who to visit. And then with that list of artists will come all those artist events. So it creates this sort of amplification of discovery because people are sharing the local culture that they're finding. Okay, I'm not gonna, these next couple slides I'm gonna go through pretty quickly because there's not, this is more of it's relatively easy to understand. But the goal with emergency infrastructure is to facilitate information getting to artists quickly, right? And in a centralized place. So how many of you guys are familiar with Nextdoor? Show of hands. Okay, yes, we got one yes. Okay, we got some yeses. So Nextdoor, for those unfamiliar, is a network for your neighborhood, right? And you can look at just your neighborhood. You can zoom out, look at a couple neighborhoods at a time. You can zoom out, look at just your city. And then the city can hop in and say, hey, we're doing trash collection post Ida on Wednesday. And you can see that message come across from your city. We want Culturalyst to become the same thing, where organizations can be posting stuff, artists can be posting stuff, and it's a conversation just in a cultural ecosystem, where you can also zoom out and be part of the conversation at the state level, or zoom out and be part of the conversation at the Southwest United States level, right? So in terms of what we built right now, is we're building the foundation for this to happen. And the way it gets there is by feedback from y'all, and by us continuing to listen and build. But this infrastructure, this became really clear during COVID when organizations did a Herculean effort of patching together newsletter lists and getting information to artists. And we want to make that easier. Another thing that's coming is a dashboard for artists. So if there's a grant that you're interested in, you should be able to quickly say, yep, I'm interested, and then get a reminder a week out to remind you, hey, application's coming up. A reminder 2 days out saying application's coming up. So we want to build you different tools that help make your lives easier. Again, this is coming soon, but something that we're playing around with. So I'm going to skip ahead here. This sort of speaks to Eileen's point, that what's also coming down the pipeline is a way to connect creative businesses too. So venues or recording studios, that information should be in one place to make it easy for artists looking for those places to find them. So another perspective thing that we're going to build. Okay, so I'm going to pause there. Any questions or feedback right now before I dive into the demo?
Hey, Sam.
Yes.
You have a question in the chat from Catherine Odell.
Okay, great. With orgs, are they visible in each city, or do we have to register per city? The same with cultural consumers. So that works statewide. I've consumed. Okay, got you, Catherine. So that's a very good question. Orgs are discoverable by city, because for the most part, most orgs register and have a domain or area of focus, that is region specific. So our orgs are discoverable in the same way artists are. We are in the process of migrating to a central, this is sort of some technical stuff, but we're moving our data from individual city databases into a central database, which will basically mean that you at the state level can see orgs and artists across the state, and everyone else can too. And what that means for cultural consumers is that they will register for Culturalyst in one place and then can pop to different cities and save artists and pay artists, etc., attend events, and all of that information will be saved in one place as opposed to in individual cities. So that's in process because we sort of learned over the last few months that there's a need for that ability to zoom out. I hope that answers your question, Catherine. No. So that's the one thing that right now opportunities are visible across the network. So now's it's a good segue to the demo. So let's look at Baton Rouge. I'll come back to the main page here. And as you guys know, as artists, you know that often things are a work in progress, and that a perfectionist eye is critical around the things that they create. So there's lots of things we want to do in terms of the site, and that's what we're focused on right now, is listening and tweaking. So all feedback is welcome, and that's sort of a way to say that that we are. I'm aware as an artist that, like, I just want this to look a little better, but that's a different that's sort of insight into my view. But let's look at Baton Rouge. So we launched in Baton Rouge right at the end of July, and we definitely want to get more artists and organizations signed up. And so really appreciate this conversation and encourage everyone to sign up if they think this is valuable to them. But I want to do a quick demo, and let's start with the opportunities, because that's what Catherine just asked about. So if we're looking at this right now, these opportunities can be shared that are appearing in the directory. They can be filtered the same way artists can. So let's click on visual, and then let's click on grants. So these opportunities, let's do residencies too. So these opportunities are for visual artists, and we're including grants and residencies. We can do a demographic filter for if these opportunities are for certain demographics. We're going to keep adding filters by gender, age, etc., zip code. But from here, you can see that these opportunities are you can't really see this, but these opportunities are in every single directory. So Catherine, to answer your question, when I go to, let's go to Northeast Louisiana. When you create an opportunity as an organization, you can choose where to share it. You can share it locally, you can share it statewide, you can share it network-wide, or you can share it just in the US, right? So these same opportunities, like this opportunity in Northeast Louisiana, right here, it was added by the Northeast Louisiana Arts Council. This opportunity is not in Baton Rouge. So each arts council and each organization can choose where they want to put opportunities, and they can post on behalf of other organizations, and they can send them out across the state. Hope that answers the question. So let me get back to the demo real quick. As an artist, let's look at the NELA directory. As an artist, we wanted to make it really, really easy to sort of quickly see the lay of the land in terms of artists and look at the work and see what captures you as a cultural consumer. So that's why we built these cards that showed a big cover image. From here, you can drill down. So if we say we want to see performing artists, we have one in Northeast Louisiana. Let's say we want to see visual artists. So after you click on a discipline, you then can see the specific subcategory. So Abigail's in photography, Amanda's in photography, Andrew's in photography, right? If we come back to Baton Rouge, we can do the same thing. And so we see Ellen is a muralist, is a painter, Grant does conceptual collage, Nancy's in painting, fine art, Jennifer does a whole host of different disciplines. So once you select a category, then you can drill down. So let's look at just collage, right? You can even further drill down by zip code, by race or ethnicity, gender pronouns, age. We're going to keep adding these filters as we hear what's needed from different partners. But that's how you discover artists. For organizations, it's the same thing, right? So you can say, let's see all of the music organizations, right? There are none yet. So see, here's visual. You can then see, okay, the Anne Connolly Fine Art. This is a gallery that just signed up a couple days ago. I'm trying to see if Anne's on the call. No. Right, so then here's the Louisiana Percent for Art program. So you can then drill down even further. And same thing with opportunities. So you can keep your discipline and genre selected and just pop between them, and you can find exactly what you want to find. So now I'm going to show you how to sign up as an artist. So if we come to Baton Rouge and you click on sign in or sign up, which is in the menu, you can get there multiple ways. If you go to sign in, you just click register now and you can get to sign up in the menu there. You'll enter your email. And don't worry, I'm not going to do the entire sign up process to bore you all unless you want me to. But it's pretty straightforward. I've already registered that email. Okay. Sam test. Wow. Okay. Let me just log in. So I guess I've done that one already. Test 4. Okay. So once you enter an email that hasn't been used already, you select which profile type. Are you an artist or arts organization? I'll select artist. I then click next. I pick a username. So I'm going to do Culturalyst test and then a series of numbers. You then hit sign up and this brings you into your dashboard. So you're then brought into the back end of the site and this is your artist profile. So you can see the different sections to work through over on the left. You start with a cover photo. Let's see here, cover photo. Okay, so then you'll crop it however you want it, right? Hit save in the top right. This button in the top right will stay, whenever you make a change, it'll illuminate. So let's add a profile photo of this dated headshot that you guys saw. Okay. All right, so then from here, you can say, do you want to allow users to email you, which will put a contact button on your profile. I'll select yes. If you're a group or a collective, let's say you're a band or an artist collective, you can say, yes, you are a group. You can name the group, Sam's Collective, right? When were you founded? And then you can search for artists on the site, right? And you can add them to your group. And then those artist profiles will be linked into that group profile. So I'm going to unselect that because I'm not a group. I then come to about. I fill in this basic information. And Bowler, my artist statement. We're pushing out a new release of the platform probably tomorrow or Friday with the ability to add a CV and some other updates that I'll send through to the Arts Council of Baton Rouge. But that'll be here on this section. So you put your bio here. These are optional fields for you, a zip code, race, gender. We're going to add another field for, are you a teaching artist? What's your, what grade specifically do you teach? Those kind of filters. I'm going to hit save. I then come to the genres. You can also see that when you filled out a section correctly, it turns green. So then let's do visual, and I'll do sculpture. Okay. So you can select multiple mediums and genres. Fashion, millinery. Okay, great. So I've got 2 now. These are required. And you cannot publish your profile until you have filled out these required fields, because we want this to be a rich discovery experience, and we don't want the director to be full of half filled out profiles. So from here, you can add 2 pieces of work. So let's do this piece. Let's say collage tiles. Upload that. You can do a video, a YouTube link, add a PDF. You can add a song for musicians. Musicians, we're going to build in the ability to embed Spotify as well, so you can get Spotify plays. So any of those kind of ideas, y'all, send them our way, because that's literally what this stage is for. is just tweaking and refining. So this becomes really valuable. Okay, let me add one more piece of work so that we can upload this. This is my Halloween costume from years past. Okay, so this now tells us, okay, your profile is ready to publish. So I can preview it, right? And you can see the URL right here is cultural. I don't know if you guys can see that. Might be too small for y'all, but the URL is just culturalyst.com/my username. So it's just like Instagram in terms of you've got one username that no one else in the whole site can have, in the whole network. So here's my profile, right? I didn't add any links. So I still have not published this yet to the directory, but I can add links, Instagram, Bandcamp, Spotify, etc. And then I can add my payment methods. So, and then when I'm ready to publish, I just hit publish and that will show up. I'll just do that for you all now. This will then make me show up in the directory of artists. So there I am, right? So it's that simple to get the profile listed. And then, like I said, we are in the process of refining and building things in that we're getting requested for. And then we're also going to build more tools for you in terms of you be able to go to an opportunity, for example, and you can say, all right, this opportunity right here, posted by Neela's Arts Council. I want to apply for this, but not right now. You could hit a reminder button, and that would add it to your list of opportunities that you're interested in, which we could then link to your calendar. So little things like that, we're going to keep on adding based on what we hear is needed. Okay, so that is the end of my spiel, y'all. And thank you for bearing with me on that. And any questions or thoughts or ideas or feedback are, like I said, the lifeblood of this thing right now. So thank you for your time. Come back to my thank you slide. Of course.
Sam, I have a question.
Yes.
So Culturalyst is generally for, primarily for artists, a network for artists. Is there a dual use in which, I guess, like you said, cultural consumers, is it meant to where they can also find artists they want to hire, commission, etc.?
Yes, great question, because I kind of left that out of the demo. On each profile, we're adding a contact button that allows you to contact that artist. So our focus at this point was to build value for the artists and arts organizations, because we thought that's where the lack was. And we think if we can do that well, we can then have this central information that is really valuable to cultural consumers. So the first step is let's get artists on board here. And then the next step is we'll build tools for the cultural consumer. The long-term vision of this is that somebody can arrive to a city and they can already love like ballet, sculpture, and puppetry. And they can get fed a list of all the artists and organizations and opportunities and events around what they've already said that they care about. And then we want to facilitate those tourists paying for events or paying artists directly, and us keeping track of how much those tourists are spending as a way to like sort of reward them. You are a sustainable tourist. You gave $50 when you were in New Orleans for the weekend directly to artists. So that's where we want to get to in terms of engendering a sort of direct from fan to artist exchange. But we're beginning with this, let's build tools for artists. Carissa, there is a limit. The limit is 12, I believe, images. We can expand that. I'll talk to the Arts Council of Baton Rouge about that. We capped it at 12 just because that what we thought was a reasonable number. And we also think that there's things we could do to make different albums. That's sort of down the road, but again, feedback on that, like Chris, if you want to, if there's a request and you want to upload more images, you know, make that request to me or to oh, hey Ellen, great profile, beautiful work too. Yeah, so Carissa, back to your question. If that's something that's needed, please let us know. Maryland, there's no fee, and there's no fee because the Arts Council of Baton Rouge is underwriting the cost of Culturalyst for the Baton Rouge region. And we're also, the partnership is across the state. So our model, I didn't really speak to this, our model is to provide technology to arts organizations in exchange for an annual fee. And so that fee has been paid for by the Arts Council of Greater Baton Rouge. And then they get access to some data, it's anonymous, but data on the artists, and that's forthcoming for them as well. Okay, thanks, Ellen. Great. Thanks, David. And y'all, I think the biggest thing the biggest ask I have right now is just tell your artist community about this. You know, we're gonna every new artist that joins and publishes their profile makes this network more valuable. We've had 685 artists sign up in the last, you know, about 400 since the end of July. And so every new artist that joins is making this, you know, a central resource and more valuable. And then every new city that we bring on is going to make the network more valuable. So everyone, it's the network effect I talked about earlier. Hartford, Connecticut, and New Haven, Connecticut just signed up, so they're going to have their own directories. So again, it's just the very beginning for us, and we're super excited about the feedback we're getting so far. Ellen, great question. We do, and that our designer was really impacted by Ida. So we have been delayed on getting a graphic both to our Arts Council partners as well as to artists. So we're hoping to have that by the end of this week. But I will definitely share that with the Arts Council of Baton Rouge, and I'll share that with you directly so that artists can share that graphic. Vince. Thank you, Vince. Thanks, Ellen. So I'm here. If anyone has any questions or thoughts, I'm here to answer them. Thanks, Carissa.
Sorry, does anyone have any more questions for Sam? Sam, can people contact you via email, or is it best for them to contact the Arts Council?
Either way. I think if there are questions about Culturalyst and certain features, send them our way. I think the Arts Council partners, they know your region better than we do. And so I encourage all the artists to become members of their arts councils, because they're really the people who are holding it down in their communities and are the backbone of the arts community there. So we're super, super humbled and proud to work with organizations like the Arts Council of Baton Rouge. So I encourage y'all to reach out to them directly. But if there's feedback requests or thoughts, or sorry, if there's feature requests or thoughts, please send them my way.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam. I want to echo what Renee just put in the chat. We are so grateful for this. I think it's going to be very successful, and thankful for the Louisiana Division of the Arts for assisting and providing this service as well. So if you still have questions that come up, you can definitely contact me, or if it's very specific to Sam, feel free to contact him. I'm dropping my email in the chat. And then just to let y'all know a few things going on with the Arts Council right now. We have our inaugural members only exhibition that is in the Shell Gallery of the Carrie Siraj Community Arts Center right now. You can stop by anytime during our work hours, 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday. This is up for another month. And a lot of the artists on this call are also exhibited in the Shell Gallery right now, which is really amazing. And it'll be a chance for you to check out the building if you would like to as well. We also have Art Flow Junior in the River Center Branch Library. And one more reminder, as Sam said, like with their graphic designer and being displaced, I know you just got back to your house in New Orleans. We have ongoing efforts with Creative Relief, and there's information on our website. There's still a survey you can take if you have not done so already. And if you are specifically a craft or studio artist who has lost income or had damage to your studio, we did a webinar last week with Surf Plus, who has a fund specifically for those artists. Feel free to email me if you need more information about that. Sam, I'm just so grateful to you for doing this, and I'm stealing some of your phrases you use. I wrote down artists are the lifeblood of our cultural economy. I think you worded everything so beautifully, and this is a really wonderful service that you're offering.
Thank you, Misty. And thank you for organizing this. This has been great.
Of course.
And one more thought. All those opportunities that you just spoke about, you guys can share those across the network.
Yes, we need to. I also, look, I just like the rest of you artists, I needed to learn more about this platform as well. So I'm excited to know, have all the information now, and we will be uploading our opportunities on there.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a good rest of your week. Thank you again, Misty.
Thank you. Bye.